Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. I think we all have a bucket list of knives that we want to own, and this is one of those knives that was on my bucket list. I really am a big fan of bird and trout knives, and to me, the Case Pheasant Hunters Knife is like the pinnacle of the bird and trout knives out there. This is just one of those knives that if you're a big fan of bird and trout knives, this is probably one you want to have in your collection. And quite frankly, they're pretty easy to get right now, even though they are not in production with Case at the moment. They do go in and out of production, and when they're in production, it's fairly easy to buy them. They sell out pretty quickly, but you know, if you're willing to put out the money, you'll grab one pretty quickly. And then they end up on the secondary market, and the price goes up quite a bit. I think the most recent version of this knife was in black buffalo horn. I always wanted one in genuine stag, and I finally got one at a price that I wanted to pay. And that's really what took the 2 or 3 years. It was the price that I wanted to pay. So basically, persistence and patience has paid out for me, because I could have gotten one of these knives at just about any time in the condition that it's in right now for probably in the $175 to $2.25 range. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, I bought one of those knives at a pawn shop or at a someplace, and they got it for $15 or something. It's like, well, congratulations. If I would have saw one for $15, I would have bought one too. But that price was not going to happen for me. But I did finally get one on eBay in a price that I was willing to pay, which is right around $100. And it's in pretty good shape. It's not perfect. Matter of fact, it looks like not only has it been sharpened, it was actually used by somebody. And if looking at the sheath and the fact that it has belt wear and stuff, I'm wondering if someone actually, an actual pheasant hunter actually used this knife to clean some pheasants. In which case, if he did, that blade edge held up really well. But now that I have the knife in hand, I can rub my hand over this, and it definitely feels like it is engraved, and then the ink is into there. So it will hold up pretty well. And you see there, it's got a green head and a little red spot around the eyes. And you got the ringtail going on with those feathers, the green grass going on. And also, if you look closely at the tank stamp there, you'll count up 8 dots, because this knife, according to this tank stamp, would have been made in 1982. So this knife today is right around 42 years old, based on the tank stamp there. And it's in really good shape for a knife that was at least lightly used. And you see here SSP, so it is in stainless steel. That's the pattern number 523-3 1/4, and the 3 1/4 stands for right there. The blade is 3 1/4 inches long, so it's the 523 at 3 1/4 inches, and SSP, stainless steel. And you see the overall length of this one is 7 inches. The length of these knives will vary slightly because, well, you're using in this case, this is the tine of a India deer stag. So you got one of the tines going on there. Nice shape to it. Got a brass pommel. You do see some dents and scratches on there. I think I can polish those out. I'll get around to doing that in the very near future. But really nice and tight. Just a gorgeous knife. As I run my finger along the blade, I do feel like the tip might be twisted a little bit. So again, that might be from somebody actually doing some actual field work with it. but it also has a nice swedge going on right there. See that? Beautiful little swedge. This is a knife that I have just wanted in my collection for a very long time. And part of the reason for that is because, well, I collect bird and trout knives, and this to me is the quintessential bird and trout knife. Now, I will compare this to other bird and trout knives in a future video. But for right now, let me just go on and talk a little bit about the sheath here. Because as you can see, the sheath is in a used condition. I don't think it has fared as well as the knife, but it's not in bad shape. It's definitely got some staining going on. And if you look at it closely, you can kind of tell that this was definitely worn. Somebody had actually put this on their belt and taken it out in the field probably. And if you open it up, you can also see that this staining here, that is caused by the brass pommel on the knife. This is where the brass pommel was rubbing against there and, you know, oxidizing the brass and everything else, so that the green got in there and damaged the leather sheath there. You can see, let's just slip it in there and you can see how it matches up, boom, right into that. And so that was what was going on. And if you notice, let's snap it closed. It really looks like, come on, it looks like it was basically thrown in a drawer and it was just sitting like this in a drawer. And, you know, kind of abused a little bit, but probably not considered abused by the owner, because they're probably using it as a knife, you know, actually going out in the field and doing stuff with it, despite the blade edge, which is kind of interesting. But the sheath, I mean, look at that. Nicely stitched. It was nicely burnished. You can see a little bit of separation going on there. You got one brass rivet up there and 5 brass rivets down at the bottom. So they definitely did not want the bottom of this sheath coming undone. Got the case logo going on there. What I plan on doing also, before I tell you what I'm planning on doing, you can see a little bit of a crack there and some more staining going across the top there. What I plan on doing is just cleaning this up a little bit. I don't want to get all the stains out or anything, and I'm not even sure I could get all the stains out. But what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to treat it with some mink oil, you know, clean it up, get the dirt off and everything, get some more mink oil in there and get this leather treated better, get it nice and supple again, because it is a little stiff, but it is also a very good, thick quality leather sheath. And while I'm doing that, I will also probably get some conditioner on this stag handle too, because it looks like it could definitely use a little bit of cleaning too. It's definitely stained from hands and everything else, which is fine. It's nicely set though, man. The way they filed it down or cut it down here to get your hand on there, that is just a perfect spot for my thumb. Yeah, it would work on this side too. But I gotta tell you, the shape of this handle, notice how the way the stag turns, and you got the flat part there. Notice how it turns. That falls right into my left hand. It feels really good in my left hand. It actually feels better in my left hand than it does my right hand. I wonder if a person who owned it, you know, was right-handed and thought, I wish this stag turned the other way. It would probably feel better. Or maybe they thought it felt perfect in their hand because their hand would have been used to it. But for me, I grab it in this hand and that just feels perfect. And I really like that wide belly on that blade. I can see why a person would use it. You get that in your hand, you feel like it. It's like, oh, I don't care about that pheasant on there anymore, man. This is a work of art. This is something that deserves to be used. And because it has some light use on it and everything, you know, it's already used a little bit. So I'm not going to abuse it or anything, but, you know, if I happen to have a steak and I feel like maybe I should cut up my steak with this. Yeah, I can see me doing that, because if it just feels good in the hand. You put this knife in your hand and you feel like, man, I gotta cut something with it. This knife just feels like that. It's, and then you look at it and you think, man, that is a thing of beauty. It is such a beautiful knife, and the pheasant artwork on the blade is terrific. But I also know that because this knife has already been lightly used and there has been no damage to that pheasant, depending on what you're cutting, it's probably okay. Cut a little meat here, chop up a little chicken, things like that. It's probably going to be just fine. In any case, as you can tell, I'm very happy to finally have landed one of these knives. I'm happier that I got it at a price I wanted. I did not overpay for it, at least in my opinion. I have seen these knives, like I said, go in the $300 range in open bidding on eBay. Typical price for them I see is somewhere in the $180 to $225 mark. And there have been times when I've almost broken down and paid that amount for it. So I'm glad that I remained patient and persistent to get it for the price that I was willing to pay or wanted to pay, as opposed to the price that someone else was asking for. So in any case, and that is something to always consider when you're looking for a knife on eBay. There's plenty of them out there. It's not the last one you're ever going to see. So be patient, be persistent, and get it for the price that you want to pay or that you can afford. In any case, with that said, I'll let you go. I'm going to take some nice pictures of this knife and talk to you again soon. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.